Hello and welcome to Swim Talk A2B, everything you need to know about swimming from A to B and anything else we want to talk about. I'm Dana Abbott, the A, and joining us from Bay City, Texas is the show's co-host, Bob Button, who is the B in A2B. Bob, how's it going today?
Never better.
The comments and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own, and do not reflect those of their employers, friends, families, or casual acquaintances.
If you're like most college sports fans in the United States, you'll recognize the fight song of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Our guest this week is Notre Dame head swim coach Mike Litzinger, and he'll be sharing how the Irish faced and dealt with the pandemic, along with other interesting tales from South Bend, Indiana. Stay tuned. Okay, I just started the recording, so we're good for that.
Okay.
Mike, we went through a recording just between Bob and myself a couple weeks back, and I think each one of us thought the other one was hitting the recording button, and we lost a whole great conversation, probably the best stuff we've ever had.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it sucked less than most of our stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, our motto is we try to suck less each week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, progress is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
My youngest daughter's at her swim practice, and so I'm manning the oven right now for my wife. So,
Well, whatever you need to do. So
Okay.
Bob had this great idea to talk to you, and I'm really looking forward to it because I want to find out more about what Notre Dame is doing in a lot of their sports, because there was a couple of great articles in the Wall Street Journal a few weeks back.
right.
It might have been a little bit farther back than that, about how Notre Dame was doing stuff different than a lot of other schools.
Sure.
Anything you want to share about that, and bring our listeners up to speed so I don't have to read this article verbatim?
Right. Well, no problem. Well, I think that our president and our board of directors really made a commitment to having an in-person class experience. And that's what makes Notre Dame a little bit different. The campus community is fantastic. It really is a family-oriented place. And I think when they announced that, hey, we're going to try and do our very best, and just not on the surface, but put together a system and a procedure, and we're gonna get this done in the fall. And so we all came back on August 10th, and they staged move-ins for the kids. And it took about a week to get the full student body here. Of course, football was here earlier. It's just what they do. But and things were pretty good for the first 10 days or so. And we ran into a spike in COVID cases. And then actually pretty aggressive shutdown going to online classes. And sure enough, 10 days later, we've had less and less cases. And, I was sharing with Dana earlier that, when we look at our dashboard, it's 0 cases, 1 case, 2 cases.
Nice.
And so I think the base philosophy has worked. They've really worked hard in, putting mechanisms in place, and just not wearing a mask and washing hands, but we have a COVID response unit called Crew that does all the contact tracing, and it's been very thorough. So
Very aggressive and digging into everything and nook and cranny. So that's good. Right. That's good.
Yeah. And now I say that, and I just found out this afternoon that our football team won't be traveling to Wake Forest this weekend because they had a couple of cases that took some guys out of the loop. And, with the ACC, now the ACC has pretty strict medical procedures, and that's one of the reasons why we decided to move forward with fall sports and football. we couldn't fulfill those requirements to travel to Wake Forest. So we're going to reschedule that game, and
So they're not just saying stick a fork in them. They're done.
Right.
They're just playing it week to week.
Right.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So they give them an opportunity to get it squared away, and we'll try it again. Okay.
Yeah. But I think that, you referred to some of the articles in the Wall Street Journal, and from Father Jenkins, our president, and Jack Swarbrick, our athletic director. They are very committed in providing, a great holistic experience, on-campus experience for our students. And, I have to applaud them for pushing through that, even when we had that spike and we were taking some criticism, we kept calm and saw it through, and now we're on the other end of it. And then I'm sure you see in the news that there's a lot of other universities there that are just sending their students home for the semester, or,
Right.
Some of the athletic teams are participating, some aren't. But I think we're kind of through the worst of all that.
Good.
When we come back, Mike tells us about the first 10 days students return to campus. Stay tuned. This episode of Swim Talk is sponsored by EddieReesBook.com. The highly acclaimed best-selling book, Eddie Rees, Coaching Swimming, Teaching Life, has been praised and recommended by top names in the sports world, including North Carolina's head football coach, Mack Brown, who says the lessons recounted in this book are invaluable for anyone interested in becoming a better leader. Rick Barnes, the University of Tennessee head basketball coach, says he understands how it all comes together, mind and body. Australian coach Bill Sweetenham, head national team coach at 5 Olympic Games and coach of 27 Olympic medalists, simply says, Eddie Rees, no person a better coach and no coach a better person. This book says it all. A master class from a true genius in our sporting world. The book, Eddie Rees, Coaching Swimming, Teaching Life, is available in Kindle and softcover editions at Amazon.com, at the website EddieReesBook.com, and at the online store of the National Interscholastic Swimming Coaches Association, NISCAonline.org. Get your copy soon.
We were in dorms and we were in class for the first 10 days. And then we had that spike, and then we went to online for 10 days, and then we're back. But the dorms never shut down. Kids were still in the residence halls, and
food service kept right on going. Everything else
food
kept
service
moving.
kept going. Yeah. And
Good.
And I think it was a credit to the student body that, hey, they don't want to go home, right? I have a high school.
Right.
Thank God she's in high school, right? Because she's tired of seeing us all the time. And I think college kids feel the same. They're ready to be in college.
Yeah.
So.
I think Notre Dame is not alone in this. Kids want to socialize, I believe.
Right.
You mentioned before we started recording this. And that's the case in a lot of schools. And I saw something here that said there were hearings in process for a certain number of students who violated the health protocols at Notre Dame. And that's happening everywhere because these kids they want to get out. They don't want to be locked away from their friends. And that's got to be really tough when you're in an environment where the number one priority is socializing.
Yeah, it's very difficult for young people. And especially since they hadn't seen each other since March, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden you're thrown back in this environment, and we're a little bit different simply because we're a student body of about 8,500. So it's not real big, but
right.
if you're
at
at
the mega 40,000
right.
type campus, right?
Right. right. But we still have the same issues, right? I mean, kids want to gather, and I think a lot of them found out the hard way. And when we had that pause in in-person class, there was a strong message saying that, hey, if you can't follow these rules, you may have to do it someplace else.
Yeah.
After this short break, Bob takes another nostalgic spin in the Wayback Machine. We'll be right back. This segment is brought to you by Hands Paddles. Get the best swim paddle on the market, the original Hold swim paddle. Coach Dick Hanula says, the feel of the water on the hand is vital for an efficient and successful competitive swimming stroke. Our Hold paddles do it best. Reduce joint stress while building strength. Hands paddles are USA manufactured and are sold direct at handspaddles.com. That's HANS paddles.com.
Hey, I'm going to take an opportunity to go back. I want to go back
in
to
the Wayback Machine.
Yes, yes, let's do that. I told you in an email, I grew up pretty close to Hobart,
Right.
and where you did your undergrad work.
Sure.
And you swam for a guy that got me started in club swimming, Bob Beaudry, Seneca Lake Swim Club. Tell us how you ended up in Geneva, New York.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because coming out of high school, I was recruited by a few Division I schools, and my father, the best man in his wedding, was actually the head of the modern languages department at Hobart, and we had done the college tours, and he just said, "Hey, I'm going to go up and see Dr. Murphy for the weekend. Why don't you come with me?" And I fell in love. I just felt like this is the place I'm going to be, and it just felt good. And despite the Division I versus Division III swimming for me, it would have been nice, but I felt that I could add something to the program there, and found a home, and loved Geneva, and was back for my reunion last summer. So it was a great experience for me.
It's a really neat place. I know it's a great area. I escaped the winters and the taxation though. Hey, now, was there a Finger Lakes connection that took you to Iowa and Glenn Patton's program? And do you stay in touch with Coach Patton?
Of course, yeah. And so, originally, and this is the path that all of us coaches take, right? We were all ready to do something else in life. And so I was ready to head to law school. And I just decided that I had an opportunity to coach. And I worked the University of Alabama swim camps for about 8 weeks. And the next thing you knew that Coach Gambril, Don Gambril at the time was the head coach. He goes, "Wow, Mike," he goes, you're really good at this. You have a good relationship with the kids. And I ended up helping him with the college team over the summer. And he goes, "Let me make a couple of calls." And believe it or not, Iowa had a graduate assistant position open. And I knew Glenn because I lived in Olean, New York, which was right down the road from Alfred State, where Glenn was coaching at the time. Yeah. And it was a natural connection. And I got the GA position there and had a great experience with Coach Patton and the Iowa Hawkeyes. So,
yeah, I used to go to Coach Patton's camps when I was in high school, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, he's a great guy. You stay in touch with him?
Yeah, and recently, unfortunately, they announced that Iowa was going to drop men's and women's swimming and diving, along with gymnastics and tennis, and so we rallied as an alumni group, and are presently trying to fight that off a little bit with fundraising and some meetings with the president and the athletic director, and the board that we formed is going to meet with the governor of Iowa soon. So we're going to hope to reverse that decision. Of course, great. Glenn is very involved in that, and we had the 100th year anniversary of Iowa swimming a year ago, and it was good to see a lot of friends and people that I hadn't seen in a while. So Glenn's doing very, very well.
It seems the NCAA stepped in and voiced their disapproval of dropping the program by yanking the men's D1 meet away from it.
Right. And is that official now? I didn't know if that was really going to happen or not. I know they're looking into it. So
the last I've heard from my well-placed sources indicate that is
that ain't me.
From their secure underground bunkers.
Yeah, right.
That's probably gonna happen.
Right. Well, thanks for the inside info. I got to change my hotel reservation.
Oh, well, the governor maybe can do something about that. That would be
right.
If you're going that high up, that would be great if we could get something changed here at the last second.
Yeah, it would be good.
Well, the National Interscholastic Swim Coaches Association has its annual conference at either the men's D1 or the women's D1 meets, and this year it was supposed to be in Iowa City.
Right.
And so, of course, we have big deals with the hotels there, lots of rooms blocked off, meeting rooms, food guarantees, and so we're sort of sitting on the fence here. What's going to happen officially, even though we sort of have our guesses, but there's a lot of people, all the schools that were going there, and if they move it away from Iowa, where are they going to move it to?
Right.
And then there's going to be a big race to get rooms wherever that's going to be.
Scramble is going to be on.
I'd love to see it back in Austin, but
there's a lot of great things about that town as well, and especially good places to eat, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
At the time of our interview with Coach Litzinger, the University of Iowa, which had been the scheduled site of the 2021 Division I Men's Swimming and Diving Championship, had only recently made the bad decision to drop men's and women's swimming and diving at the end of the 2021 season, as well as men's gymnastics and men's tennis. In response to that devastating move, the NCAA stripped the University of Iowa of the meet and moved it to Greensboro, North Carolina, previous site of the 2015 women's D1 meet, as well as this year's women's D1 meet. So back-to-back women's and men's meets will be held at the same location, which has previously occurred in 2009 at Texas A&M, 2013 at Indianapolis, 2016 at Georgia Tech, 2017 again at Indianapolis, and in 2019 at the University of Texas. And we'll be right back after hearing from one of our favorite places to eat. This segment brought to you by Texas Traditions Restaurant in beautiful downtown Old Katy, Texas. Across the street and less than 2 football fields away from the world-famous No Label Brewing Company. Open for almost 20 years, this friendly, family-owned and operated restaurant prepares food like Mom used to make, including their award-winning meatloaf every Thursday. Stop by and have a tall glass of sweet tea with your meal, or a timely brew from No Label. And tell Denise the guys from Swim Talk sent you.
The last thing I saw on ACC swimming was that you had to hold off till the 10th of the month. Are y'all back in the water working out?
Well, yeah, we haven't missed anything here at Notre Dame. I think each institution has their own policy. And what we did is over the summer developed a playbook on how we were going to approach our season, how we were going to approach our training. And so what we did is we had a 3-phased approach where phase 1, we couldn't have more than 10 athletes in a section at one time. So we staggered our practices. Then in phase 2, we could go up to 25. And now we're in phase 3, which is the whole team. So we hadn't had any interruptions.
Oh, okay.
I know some other ACC institutions. Actually, I was on the ACC coaches call today, and there's some teams that have been paused in their training altogether.
Wow.
Right now. So
have you put together any kind of a schedule with them yet?
Right now, we just have Pittsburgh coming up on. It's not until November 7th. We have a November 1 moratorium on competition. So we can
Okay.
have inter squads and things like that, but the senior women's administrators kind of voted on a let's see what happens post November 1. And so if you want to schedule something then, you have the go ahead. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And we're just trying to jockey around to see what's an easy travel, because the travel rules are a little bit different. And it's great because Coach Hargis at Pittsburgh is honoring his commitment to come out here. And when you swim another ACC institution, it's a little easier because we have the same medical playbook, right? So we have to hold each other accountable to what the ACC Medical Advisory Committee has laid down in terms of competition. So, we're waiting to hear it because we're in the middle of Big Ten country. It's really easy for us to get to Purdue or IU, Northwestern, Ohio State. But we haven't heard what the Big Ten wants to do yet. So.
And will the ACC they might not want you to step out and get involved in Indiana LSC meets when those start back up? Will they tell you to kind of stay out of that too?
Yeah, I think at this point we would have to get a waiver for some things like that.
Right. I'm sorry to step on you, Dana.
Well, that's okay. We ought to have a button that besides you that we can push and say, me next.
The button. Shut the button. Button.
Well, I do have that. So, Mike, what I wanted to ask was, you were talking about it might be easier to have intra-conference meets. For the ACC, do you think that's happening in the other conferences?
I'm almost sure of it, that it will happen for some. I know the SEC received permission to start swimming in the middle of next month. And so it's easy for them as well to get to their schools, right? The tough part for the ACC is Notre Dame, Louisville, and Boston College are actually a little bit further away from a lot of easy reach opponents, right? So we can get to Louisville pretty easily. Pittsburgh is doing a great job. It's about a 5-hour drive. So, but everything else, the Carolina schools have it made, right? Because they're all you draw a circle around them. They can even hit UVA and Virginia Tech. And so I think that, the Big Ten schools and SEC schools, a lot of them are within easy reach of each other. So they'll keep their medical plans hunkered down and probably do competing against that. So.
Yeah, I'll jump back in real quick. My underground source, this is not my source, but I think the information got there from him. But Greg Earhart at College Swim Coaches said that he said in a statement 2 weeks ago that the NCAA has started a pursuit of a new, more deserving site for this meet.
Okay.
So apparently that's got a little more meat to it now.
Yeah, good. So yeah, Greg will be on top of that. So I know he'll be in the know. So he's a good leader for our Coaches Association and appreciate all the hard work that he's done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
After this short message, Bob asked Mike to discuss the future of our sport, especially important in these days of dropping programs due to budget cuts, whether real or just excuses by overzealous athletic directors or the bean counters in the ivory towers. It is a big deal. We'll be back right after this.
This segment is brought to you by the J Cafe, located in beautiful Needville, Texas. Drop by for brunch and have yourself an Abbott Button special. When I first started emailing back and forth with you, Mike, to get this thing going, I kind of wanted to talk to you about the future of our sport in college and my concerns. I know Dan's concerned too. We swam in college and we love what it did for us. And stuff like when terms like revenue sports get tossed around a lot, We know there's only a handful of college sport teams in the country that generate more dollars than they cost, let's say.
Right.
Fighting Irish football is probably one of them.
Right.
But sports like swimming seems to bear the brunt of the budget axe when it comes to athletic cuts. We take pride in the numbers we generate on the academic side for the athletic department, and we don't take up a whole lot on the expenditure side. What makes us such an easy target for that budget axe?
It's a great question, and it's really difficult to answer. I think it's a lot of robbing Peter to pay Paul sometimes. I really like our head football coach, and I know what makes the train run, right? Football
Right.
and the basketball tournament, and so. But there's an escalation of salaries. There's, the arms race. We're not immune to it. But I think that, the Title IX issue and, I just think that, you're trying to save money. And at the end of the day, athletic directors are responsible for a budget. There's no question about it. And, how are you going to move forward with that? And if you can save, you're just not saving scholarships, or you're not saving operating costs for a team. You're also coaches' salaries and benefits that extend through that. So, if a coach is making $75,000 a year, there's also benefits that go along with that. And, that's a hidden cost.
That is a big one, right?
Yeah. And so I think when you eliminate those things, it's a bottom line issue, right? And so you'll say, okay, well, we're saving this to save that. And that's why I think that it's important that people get ahead of that. It's almost like you shouldn't necessarily try to endow scholarships. You want to endow your operating costs. Right.
That's where I was heading, was what can we do as a swimming community to make sure those opportunities are going to be there for the kids we're coaching in club
Right.
and high school. And yeah, I see what you're saying. Endow the program more than setting aside a scholarship, because if the program dies, what good is that scholarship?
Right. Exactly. I think the deeper that I get into this, and I've been fortunate enough to work at some really great places that have incredible alumni support. Ohio State, when I was there, Bill Wadley started, getting alumni on board to endow coaching positions and scholarships and budget needs. And when I was at North Carolina, Frank Comfort, I didn't work for Frank, I worked for Rich, but North Carolina had already fully endowed all their scholarships, and now it was on to the coaching position and the budget. So, taking a lot of pages out of those playbooks for me at Notre Dame has been very helpful, because we're on that track. We want to. I just got my coaching position endowed last year, and so that's going to be announced soon. And I think it's really important that, especially for men's swimming, that we take some time to bolster our program finances, so that when that day comes, and it's an easy choice to keep the program instead of cutting it.
In our final segment, Mike talks about what he does in his spare time, shares his thoughts on favorite sets and drills, some absolutes in swimming, how he faced the departure of a star athlete to another school, the state of age group in collegiate swimming in Indiana, open water swimming in New York State, Notre Dame's famous football player Rudy, and remembering the tragic Notre Dame swim team bus accident in January 1992.
Hey, what do you do outside the swimming world, Mike?
Well, I try to be a good dad. So I have two daughters, an 8th grader and a 9th grader, and one swims and one's in drama, and try to keep my wife on my side because she knows that this is a crazy business. But love live music. I have great friends in the coaching world, so we get together quite often. And I still have family in upstate New York, so we like to travel up there when we can. And my wife and I love to travel, so we love to go places and have an opportunity to spend some time together.
Good deal. I guess the COVID it put a curb on my trip, my travel plans this past summer. I like to get up there and didn't get a chance.
Right.
Boy, it was rough. I like to spend a little time up there and cool off.
Right.
Yeah. You got any favorite sets or drills that you've developed over the years, or that you've borrowed? I know I borrow all mine. I hate to say steal.
Well,
anything you like?
Yeah, that's the secret to coaching, right? I think it's you steal and then you make you put your own twist on it and you move forward. So I've been pretty fortunate to be able to coach some really great butterfly athletes, and one of the best stroke progressions, drill progressions I ever learned, and I still use all of it today, was from Ray Bussard from the University of Tennessee. And, Ray had this butterfly progression that was incredible. And, we would take young campers, and I worked with Ray for 8 years at swim camps as a young coach, and would just listen to the stories. But you could take a kid who never swam a stroke of fly at the beginning of the week, and they would be swimming it at a very high level by the end of the week. It was pretty amazing transformation. And when I started putting those drills into my practices with the college kids, it came to fruition. So while I was at Carolina, I really had an opportunity to coach some incredible butterflyers. So you had Tom Litzinger, who made the world championship team, Ben Colley's national team member, Emma Nunn, who was a World University Games team member, had Helen Moffitt, who was on the U.S. national team, Katie Nolan, who was a half stroke away from winning an NCAA championship, and Carrie Blaylock and Meredith Hoover went 3-4 in the 200 fly 2 years in a row at NCAA. So
I gotta know what this stuff is.
Yeah, I really.
It sounds like he's playing it pretty close to the vest there. I thought some coaches are supposed to be going overboard to share.
Yeah, well, I'm more than happy to email you the drill series.
Yep. PDF and videos.
Yeah. But those fly drills were invaluable, and so I incorporate a lot of those things into the set. And at Notre Dame, I coach the middle distance stroke group, so I have fly, back, and breast, and I have a couple of great assistants that help me with that. So that's kind of my sweet spot, I guess.
It's neat.
That's
hey,
great.
Okay, I'm going to lead into this then. You've done and seen a lot of fast swimming, and I've asked this a couple of times now in our podcast. Are there any absolutes you've noticed over the decades that we should all still be doing in coaching? Because we see things change, but are there things that we still should be doing that we've been doing for a couple of decades at least?
Yeah.
Just to give you a heads up, we ask all of our other guests to give us 2 absolutes. So if you want to get a leg up on them, you better give us 3.
Oh, come on. Man, talk about pressure.
Yeah. Well, the only absolute really is work works, right?
Yeah, Gilbert tells me that every time. Do you know the Shaq coach up here in Houston?
Yes.
Yeah. Gilbert loves that. Yes.
Sure.
He's right. Yes, you're right.
It is, and there's no shortcuts, right? I mean, there's talent, but talent wins a lot of things, but work definitely works. And most of the successful athletes that I've ever had know how to work, or they've learned how to work, and that's really important. And then I think not having a limitation, and what I mean by that is all these butterflyers that I mentioned that did an incredible job, they learned how not to be afraid to swim the stroke over distance, right? So it wasn't necessarily a physical limitation to swim butterfly over a distance, a 200 repeat type stuff,
Right.
but it was more of a mental release. Okay, here's what I'm doing. Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to help you through this. But once they make that release, and don't limit themselves, then all of a sudden doors open up.
That's neat.
Are there any things you use with them to help them achieve that no limit thinking mindset?
Well, I know Ray Bussard used a broom, so that wouldn't work nowadays, right? Glenn Patton used to run up and down the pool deck like a crazy guy. No, I just, I think it's a process. I think it's, one day you have the breakthrough and you talk them through it. And, it's not just like, here's the formula, do X, Y, and Z. That's certainly part of it. But to get kids, especially nowadays, there's trust, there's video, there's all kinds of mechanisms that you need to tap into. But mostly you need to find out what's gonna click with that individual swimmer. And I think we all know that is that you don't coach everyone the same, and that you take time to get to know that athlete and, meet, talk about things. Even for the 200 flyers that we have now, I'm very fortunate. I had two young ladies that were ready to go. They were both 154 in the 200 fly going into NCAAs last year. So,
what a shame didn't get to see.
Yeah. And, we talk about splits. Yeah. Here's where you have to be at 150. Here's where, and you incorporate that in their training and their mental training. And, next thing you know, they're on their way.
Are they coming back this year? Hopefully they were seniors.
One's a junior and the other one's a sophomore. And actually, we have a young lady from Marty Keating's program up in Pittsburgh, right?
Oh, Mo Keating. Oh, what a blast from the past.
Yeah,
Menden.
Yep. And she's a 155 flyer coming in as a freshman. So I think we have 3 women that can score at NCAAs this year, and we'll see how we do.
Well, they threw him in the pool at MCC one year, and I'm not sure he knew how to swim.
Well, I can tell you, he probably gave him hell for it too. That's
absolutely.
Yeah.
Marty is someone that we always look forward to having show up at the NISCA conference each year, and he is always a hoot.
Whenever I go back, and since I've been at Notre Dame, we've had 3 of his athletes, and I love, and I've loved it since I was in high school, talking to him and sitting down, and he's always trying to grow as a coach, and it's great. He's a great man.
Yeah, that program really was producing back Sutherland and Menden. Oh,
yep.
Boy.
You got it.
There's something else. All right. Okay. Anything you want to tell us about Zach?
It's an easy question to answer. And, Zach is a hell of a talent. And, he swam incredibly well for us. And I think during the pandemic period, when it was at its peak, he was looking ahead. And he and his father and I had a lot of conversations. And I think he wanted to put himself someplace where even if there wasn't an NCAA season this year, he could continue to swim on a professional level. And we're getting there, but we're not quite equipped for that here at Notre Dame. So I think it was a pretty simple decision for him in terms of that. In terms of leaving our team and his degree here, that was a much harder decision for him. So it wasn't a slam dunk by any means. He was out the door. But it was, I think, a forward-looking decision for him on what he wanted to try and get out of the sport in the future.
We're still doing great on time. I don't know how your oven's doing right now, but
yeah. They're eating. So
Okay.
yeah.
Oh no.
It's all good. It's all good.
But we like you to take us anywhere you want to go to. In the state of Indiana swimming. I know Indiana State dropped the program right after I finished up there, but they're bringing the women back, which is
Right.
good.
Makes you wonder why that.
Yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
helped destroy it, I think.
Yeah. Ouch. You brought up Indiana swimming. I think it's really a special place in the country for age group swimming. And, you have great programs like Carmel, and Chris Plum does an incredible job down there. And there are really great age group high school coaches in the state. You're always seeing somebody do something very special. And then, of course, on the college end of things, Ray's down at IU, and John and Dan are at Purdue, run a great program. Like you said, Indiana State's coming back on the women's side. We're up in northern Indiana. Ironically, we only have two kids from Indiana on our team. It's not our recruiting base. We're getting better at it, and we're going to have 4 next year. So we're really excited about that. But, I think we're in that area where we're close to Michigan. You have Louisville and Kentucky close.
Right.
We're close to Illinois. So
Illinois is really a hotbed too, isn't it?
It is. And so I think, this part of the country has some real special coaches and really great athletes. And it's been really fun for me to been able to coach around the country, in the West when I was at Utah, or in the East when I was at North Carolina, or when I was a younger coach at Ohio State, just to be able to see the different areas of the country. This is probably the most impressive, in terms, sustainability and production, and just the area. You could drive 3 hours in a circle and find unbelievable athletes and coaches.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned the Cincinnati and Louisville, and you go over to Ohio. I remember when Akron was just incredible. Yeah. It's all around you. Hey, Dana, what else you got?
Well, I just thought we ought to sign Mike up to do that lake swim over at Canandaigua some summer.
That's right. Yeah, some open water up there.
Yeah.
I did a few up there, and I don't know. You remember Terry Laughlin? What's his program?
Total Immersion.
Total Immersion. Yeah, he came down here and did some open water swimming in Texas one year too.
Yeah, when I can tell you this, every year when I was at Hobart, we swam a 2-mile stretch of Seneca, Lake Seneca.
It's a little chillier, isn't it?
Well, we did one on October 31st. We did it on Halloween.
Oh, wow.
Mackerel.
That was pretty cold. So,
oh, yeah.
Luckily, it was only 2 miles. It wasn't, the 36-mile length of the lake, but
barely enough time to warm up.
Yeah,
right.
Seneca being a lot deeper than Canandaigua. See, it's definitely colder than what I grew up on over there. Yeah,
that's cold one. It took a long time for that place to warm up in the spring, and usually by the time we got back to school in August or September, it was probably perfect, right?
Yeah. Well, we were over there. Gosh, Claire and I were at a bed and breakfast one year, and I went out off the dock and jumped in, and came back up, and the owners, I said, well, how come nobody else is in the lake? So I think you're the first ones in.
Yeah. All right. Well done.
Yeah. No, it's chilly. Boy. Yeah. Didn't get up there this year though. I'll tell you, I really appreciate you doing this, Mike. I hate you missing dinner and your family time, but boy, I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Good. Well, thank you guys for having me, and I appreciate it. Now, I also currently have on my team Kaylee Brunhard, who was she actually is a school record holder for us. And her father, Tim, was a nose tackle for Kansas City Chiefs for 12 years. and was on our national championship team. And, he was making sure Joe Montana was okay in the backfield there,
cool.
and so you hear these stories. And then also have a young lady, Catherine Brennan, on our team, and whose dad, Mike, played on the national championship team here, and played for the Bengals, and I think he played for the Jets as well. And so
That is cool.
Having these guys in the stands, and then you get part of the football team because Kaylee Brunhard's twin. She has a twin actually, and he's on the football team. And when you see these two, Kaylee's probably 5'9" and 140 pounds, and Whippy Butterflyer, and then Colin's probably 5'10" and 250 pounds. And so they're a little bit different built, but it's a lot of
ball.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a lot of fun, kind of mixing and matching and having some interaction with some of the Notre Dame legends and
that
people.
That is great. Oh, yeah.
You might just help really blow the roof off of our listenership. We're up to, 3 dozen? We're up to at least 3 dozen listeners and subscribers. But, hey, the one question that we both wanted to ask you, but neither one of us had the guts. But since we're near the end of this, I'm going to ask it anyway. Have you ever met Rudy?
I have.
Have you really?
Yes.
Is he still 5'6"?
He is all of that and a little bit more. So, most home games, he's here doing a book signing in the bookstore or, pushing his next thing. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he does a lot of motivational speaking.
He does.
Quite an inspiration. I remember we've had some. The high school I used to coach at is pretty well known for football, and we've had some tremendous running backs that just weren't that very big, and they just all seem to have that killer mindset that it's like dogs. A Chihuahua will go up and face off a German Shepherd. He has no idea what his real size is, and that kind of instinct and willing to go against unbelievable odds is something we hope we see in our swimmers too, especially when you start mentioning those repeat 200 flies.
Oh yeah. Well, here's a real interesting fact. And so Rudy, when he went into the game, right? You know who he replaced? Gene Smith, the athletic director at Ohio State.
Oh
wow.
Yeah. So there's always a story behind the story, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Well, let's hear it for Dan Devine. What a great sub.
Yeah, he did it. Yeah. So, and actually, I think they're halted production on it, but, and I would be remiss to mention this because our program, was not exempt from tragedy. Obviously, 28 years ago, we had a bus accident at the University of Notre Dame, and Tim Welsh, who's a fantastic gentleman of the sport and great friend of mine, was on the bus, and Haley Scott had written a book about being in that accident, and they're actually going to start a movie production about that. At night, and about the comeback that Haley made. And so, I guess we'll see Notre Dame on the screen again at one point, but it's a feel good story despite the tragedy that did happen. And we remember that as a team every January. So, we like to honor the 2 young ladies that passed away in that, but and I didn't mean to bring our conversation down. Yeah.
Is it the COVID that's halted that right now? And once that passes, they'll go back into production?
Yeah. Okay. That's exactly right. And so, once again, I think, each program has its special things and moments, and that was one of ours that we continue to honor and recognize. And I think our women are very, very proud of the fact that it galvanizes us every year. And we are thankful to be together, right?
I'm glad
Yep.
you brought that up, Mike. We'll keep an eye out for that. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, this has been fun. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time away from whatever TV dinners you had in the oven.
No, I doubt that.
Yeah. Yeah, a little
Oh,
salmon and broccoli, trying to stay healthy, right?
there you go.
Right.
All right. Well, take care of yourself, and we're
Okay.
looking forward to some real good swimming out of the Fighting Irish this year. Take care.